This time on NitroNights, I'm your host, Froskurinn. We still have Tom Deacon, and we're talking iRacing Season 3, getting a look at some of the PS5 racing titles, as well as special guest Joshua Rogers from Team Porsche to sit down and talk about the 24-hour Le Mans race. And be sure to stay tuned to the very end, because we're talking about the clash of racers over at Overtake.gg. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of NitroNights. I'm your host this time around, and we have a very packed schedule for you. We're looking at the VirtualGP of Canada. We've got the 24-hour Le Mans race, as well as a look at Gran Turismo 7. And speaking of Gran Turismo 7, if you've been hiding under a rock, PlayStation revealed the PlayStation 5 this weekend, and we've got all the latest for the racing news.
When Sony came up with their big PlayStation 5 announcement stream, they definitely knew what the fans wanted. The second reveal of the show already fulfilled what many racing fans out there were hoping for. Gran Turismo 7 will be released on PlayStation 5. We haven't had a release date yet. However, the expectation that GT7 will be a starting title for the next-gen console is gaining traction. As we've already come to expect from Gran Turismo, the graphics look nothing short of impressive. Also, the gameplay and steering don't seem to have changed very much. Hard braking still leads to drifting quite quickly. Anyway, the handling still doesn't look like it'll catch up with the big racing sims out there. GT fans love the Simcade approach, so there's no reason to change the current system. The trailer also gave us some insights into the content. The menu is similar to the GT4 hub and teases the GT World campaign mode, the driving school, the tuning shop, and the brand central, where you get to buy new cars. The icons for championships and GT Sports give us a hint that GT7 might continue the esports-driven approach of Gran Turismo Sports as well. Kazunori Yamauchi, the president of developer Polyphony Digital, announced that GT7 would combine the best of the past, present, and future to become the ultimate Gran Turismo. After the fans had been fed with this big announcement, they were in for a big surprise. Developer Studio Lucid revealed Destruction Allstars, a game that obviously combines Destruction Derby action with the unreal stunts of Rocket League and a hero system akin to Overwatch. In a futuristic motorsports gladiator arena, the players have to hunt down their opponents and dodge different obstacles. To do so, they can rely on different weapons like hot blades or front shields. It's still unclear whether those will be collectible power-ups or character-specific abilities. Furthermore, the characters can leave their own car and hijack others. If the two of them meet without a ride, they can settle the score with their bare hands. Combined with the stylish free-running system, Destruction All-Stars seems to become a quirky action orgy. Maybe we can look forward to the next big surprise that follows in the tire tracks of Rocket League.
I get it. It looks like a router, but that doesn't discount how much I want a PlayStation 5 so badly, and those racing games are just the cherry on top. Now, of course, that wasn't the only news that happened this weekend, which is why we have our lovely guest, Tom Deacon, to take us through it.
Thank you so much, Indiana. Great to see you. Yes, it's me, Tom Deacon, back for the NitroNights Newsflash. And you'll notice I'm wearing a shirt because I'm putting some effort in. All right, guys, you're welcome. Let's start the Newsflash with the WTCR Championship, the World Touring Car Cup. 2 races kicking off the pre-season at the Salzburg Ring. Race 1 was won by Esteban Guerrieri. Race 2 was won by Attila Tassi in a very hard-fought race. Here's the interesting thing in terms of the standings. Guerrieri's in first and Tassi is down in 5th because of a bad first race for him. Get your calendars ready. You remember those? Yeah, get them ready because September is when the season will start. Now, in terms of series not starting and in fact finishing, I said I wasn't going to cry. I've been hosting the Virtual Grand Prix. It's been amazing fun. Lots of different competitors coming on board to take part to entertain everybody. We closed it out in Canada, in Montreal, in the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and George Russell crossed the line to make it 4 back-to-back wins for him. And that's incredible because he's a guy that wasn't into sim racing, hadn't played the F1 2019 game, and has got to the top by just putting all the time and effort and hard work in. However, his confidence is sky high because during the race, he got Marcel Kiefer, Alex Albon, who was in second place, team radio to contact Alex and say, would you like him to slow down so we can make it a bit more of a contest for the fans? Ooh! hard blow, that one, for Alex Albon. And afterwards, when I interviewed him, he said he will now be known as Average Alex. That just goes to show how good George Russell has been in this competition. And he wins the Virtual GP competition. He is the champion. Moving on to the F1 Pro exhibition, it was a horrific weather race, but the drivers pulled out all the stops in this one. Lucas Blakely and Brendan Lee going at it. There was a collision with Marcel Kiefer and Brendan Lee, but Shanaka Clay, a guy that made his debut last weekend, 8th place finish in Baku, crossed the line after taking pole in a one-shot qualification to win the race. He's a guy that hasn't been signed for an F1 esports team, so expect that to happen later on in the year when it comes back. And now we move to the 24-hour Le Mans virtual race. Very exciting times. 200 drivers competing remotely from 37 different countries. And obviously, this weekend was going to be the weekend that the actual 24-hour Le Mans would have taken place. That's now been postponed to September, so you can put that next to the WTCR, which I already told you about. And this definitely brought viewers and fans to virtual racing. Now, I think it's fair to say, we've all looked at the socials, we all watched it. There were definitely some problems and controversies, but it ticks the box of what it tried and attempted to do, and that was to entertain us fans. And it's built up the anticipation for September now. And many of the top motorsport stars have expressed an interest in racing in 24-hour Le Mans. So a win-win for everyone. Now, it obviously went down to the wire, as it always does in Le Mans, with obviously making sure you get fuel conservation right, traffic management, team tactics, and raw pace. And a massive shout out has to go to the Porsche esports team, who had a very fine start with 3 out of 4 teams in the first 5 starting positions in the GT class. Now, I did mention it before, the controversies, and that revolves around Fernando Alonso and his team. They were having connection problems, as did many of the teams. They also had no fuel to solve the safety car penalty round. They were allowed to rejoin the competition anyway, and that's caused the main controversy. But here's the thing, they weren't the only team to be allowed back in. And I think that just goes to show we were trying to keep the entertainment for everybody. But that's just my opinion. Now, James Baldwin and the Veloce Esports had connection issues as well. And sadly, they had to leave the contest. There are 2 highlights I want to bring to your attention. Lando Norris, of course, switched to entertainment mode. Once again, love Lando's work, doing the sound effects as he watched on the race. True sportsmanship was shown by and proven by Brazilian Andre Negral. With 8 hours and 18 minutes left, he stopped by to help a fellow driver. That driver was Nicolas Lapierre from Cool Racing, because he helped him into the pit lane as he'd run out of fuel, allowing him to continue the race. And also there was a code brown between Dennis Olsen and Nicky Katzberg. Epic scene there when Olsen pushed him to the outside. That caused the code brown moment. So listen, let's look at the winners from this event. The winner in the LMP class overall was Rebellion Williams Esports Racing, with Nikodem Wisniewski from Poland bringing it home. So that means not only did they win the VGP Williams, they also won that. And Tom Ostgaard finished for Porsche Esports Team 93, making Nicky Tandy the first to win the real-life Le Mans and the virtual 24-hour Le Mans ever. So congratulations to those guys. Make sure you go back and watch it. I strongly recommend that. Indiana, it's back to you. But in the meantime, just as Fernando Alonso did, I'm off out for a cycle. See you in a bit, guys.
Thank you so much, Tom. A lot really to cover, which is why I'm actually really excited to intro our guest who competed in that race on Team Porsche. It's going to be Joshua Rogers. So, Joshua, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I've got you.
And the thing is you got a shout out for 2 of your teammates there. Tom got the shout out. Nick, of course, got the shout out. But it's a multi-person race, as an endurance race is. And so I'm actually really glad to sit down with you. From your perspective, do you think that there's like one person on your team that is like a hard carry? Or, how does the weight fall across everyone's shoulders?
No, not at all. An event like that, as well as obviously being a 24-hour race, it's always a team event. Always right from the beginning, in the month of preparation that we put into this one, it was always a team effort. Everyone put in just as much effort as one another. And I think that definitely showed in the result for sure. For us across the board, the car was quite strong with all the drivers. Obviously myself, Ianchen, Guben, Tommy Ostergaard, as well as Nick Tandy is in there too. So yeah, we were all pretty equally strong, which I think definitely helped us in the end. Although that being said, across all the 4 cars that we had, each one was almost just as strong as one another. Some had more luck than others, but yeah, it's definitely a massive team effort overall. There wasn't necessarily anyone that stood out.
I come from an esport background where, you know, it is a team sport and you're learning from everyone. So when you're racing alongside guys from traditional or real racing, if you will, are you all together when you're training? Are you all in the same area? Are you getting feedback back and forth? Or is it everyone just kind of focusing on what they're doing and you just rely that the other guy is going to do his job?
No, we're always communicating, especially whether it's through Discord or TeamSpeak during the race or in the preparation. We're always communicating and making sure that we're all on the same page as well, because that's really important. Obviously, for a 24-hour race or any team event, really, we're going to be setting up the car, and it's important that everyone is comfortable with what we're doing with that car. There's no point setting it up for one person and then having someone else jump in who feels completely out of their comfort zone. And over an endurance race, what you're looking for is consistency. So making sure that we're all on the same page is really important. That's why communication is key. I guess no different to what it is like in any other FPS esports title. Communication is everything, and it's no different here. So always constant communication, always trying to make sure we're all on the same page.
So just to back it up a little bit before this big race, I was doing a bit of background info on you. You kind of started out in early 2008, 2009 around go-karting around Australia, but you didn't have your big iRacing moment until 2014, I believe it was. Is there a reason why you gravitated towards iRacing as your platform? And kind of what did you want to accomplish when you moved over into the sim racing platform?
I started on iRacing in 2014, mainly to have a little bit of fun with my karting mates. iRacing was the platform at the time and still is that I think does the best job of online racing. So for us, that was the place to get together, enjoy ourselves a little bit, have some fun. Also could use it as a little bit of a training tool as well for my karting, which was quite useful. And then from there, I guess obviously things progressed. But the main reason that iRacing really caught my attention was definitely the online platform. There's no doubt that they've got the best out of everyone. Maybe there's some little quirks and things that other sims do better, but in terms of iRacing, they've got the cream of the crop on that one.
So is the goal then to be like an endemic sim racer, or do you want to also make that jump towards more traditional racing, being a real racer?
That's a challenging question, to be honest, and a tricky topic. I think for me, I was karting for so long. It was always a goal to become a real racing driver. I guess things have changed a little bit now and we're in the sim world, but never say never, I guess. Things can turn around always. But for me, at the moment, the focus is definitely on sim racing. I think with everything that's gone on lately and all the events and stuff like that, there's a lot of attention on us sim racers at the moment. So it's important to perform now, and obviously into the future as well. But I think while the sim racing scene is growing, it's important that we're there for that time. So at least for me, it's definitely not completely off the cards to try and enter real motorsport again. But for the moment, I think sim racing is where it's at least for the next year or so.
I'm really glad that you kind of bring up, the fact that the attention, the spotlight is on sim racing or esports racing right now. Obviously, with your most recent 24-hour race, there were some controversy. Do you have any opinions where you sit? Is there more nuanced approach to the discussion, or is it just like, hey guys, this is what we got, and I'm just trying to put out what I got?
To be honest, obviously there were some hiccups, but at the end of the day, Motorsport Games and the ACO, they both did a fantastic job of resolving the issues as quickly as they could. We went into the race knowing that there could be potential connection and server issues. There could be potential red flags and race stoppages. But like I say, they handled it as best as they could. At the end of the day, to only have like a 15-minute red flag is quite impressive. When you look in real motorsport, a red flag usually takes 40 minutes. So, they did a fantastic job of resolving those issues. And for me, to be honest, personally, it was something, going into it, we knew we'd have to experience that. And they definitely did a fantastic job.
When you're racing with Nick, did you, grow at all or learn anything? I know we kind of touched on it before, but I really just want to kind of peek back into this idea of when you do a long race like this, do you start it kind of at one level and then end it at a next level? Or is it about being as polished as possible before you go into an event like this and just about getting the best performance that you can?
Definitely the latter. I think trying to be as prepared as you can going into the event is really important. I guess too, you are going to learn things over the race. Maybe there's a particular scenario that you didn't practice that's new to you, and you have to kind of adapt on the fly and handle that throughout the race. But yeah, I mean, at least for me, from Nick and Ianchin as well, there's a lot in terms of racecraft and just little things from multi-class racing that we could learn from those guys. I think in terms of what they learnt from us, it was probably more from a driving perspective. But for sure, throughout the race, there was plenty of times where Nick would suggest a few things in terms of managing traffic, and I would try it and it would work flawlessly. So yeah, again, like I said earlier, I guess it's a massive team effort. But yeah, there's a lot of similarities and things that can translate between the two worlds. That's for sure.
How do you prepare your concentration for something like that? I mean, I'm assuming that you don't normally practice in that long of stints, but you would have to slowly build your endurance up for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're always practicing at least single stints, sometimes the double stint here and there. But also, I think the main challenge, to be honest, is the sleep cycle and handling with that. We don't necessarily practice trying to drive at the maximum level that we can on an hour's worth of sleep. It's not something that we usually want to do. So yeah, I mean that was probably the biggest challenge, at least for me, in terms of adapting to the race. But yeah, regarding preparation and getting used to that, it's quite challenging, especially for a 24-hour race as well. I'm used to doing that on the other side of the world, where you can have your teammates from kind of here, there, and everywhere, and you're waking up at a normal time and going to bed at a normal time, getting full night's sleep. But yeah, it's certainly a different scenario here.
I can imagine. I've tried to do anything on short amount of sleep, and it's impossible, never mind trying to drive that quickly around that many corners while also dodging traffic. So this next section, though, is called our quickfire round. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's going to work like this, Joshua. I'm just going to ask you some pretty basic questions, and you just lightning, as quick as you can, just give me an answer off the top of your head. Okay. So favorite car?
911.
Okay. Favorite racetrack?
Bathurst.
Favorite simcade racing game? So not one of the Sims, like one of the actual, like the Gran Turismos, the Forzas.
Forza. Definitely Forza.
Okay. City circuits, love or hate?
Love.
And PlayStation or Xbox?
Xbox.
Oh, okay. Wow. I actually wasn't expecting that one. So you have survived. Congratulations. I know it's very easy. Normally we ask people about like food. I'm trying to think of like an Australian thing that I can get off the top of my head. Wombat or koala?
Koala, of course.
Okay, that's fair. Now, that said, we're going to take a small pause on this conversation, and we got to look at the iRacing Season 3, which means we want to give you guys a backstage pass behind it. So let's see.
Times change, and so do the seasons. And while that can make a world of difference when we look out of the window, the change can be even bigger when we look at our screens. iRacing Season 3 has been released and adds a whole lot of content. So let's take a closer look at some of the biggest changes that came with the third season. Obviously, the new cars are one of the focal points. Finally, you can drive the BMW M41 GT4 and 3 new NASCAR vehicles, to name just a few. But it's not only the cars that are new. Some fresh eye candy in the form of improved damage models came along with them. Okay, they aren't exactly new, but now you have 7 more cars that utilize them. And surprise, all of the new cars are already using the updated models. When talking about visuals, we can't leave out the new camera shake effect. But that's not all. You finally don't have to manually adjust the exposure for replays anymore. With the new update, it's automatic. But what would a major update be without new tracks? Exactly, just sad. And that's why North Wilkesboro is now drivable in all its 1987 glory. On top of that, Road America got an update, and the Kentucky Speedway got a rescan, so it's now more accurate compared to the real version. Obviously, this isn't everything that's changed. from minor texture updates to new loading screens and everything in between. The new season has brought some fresh air with it.
Now, Joshua, as an iRacer, it coming on to season 3, what specifically, like out of all of those things, are you most excited for? Because I saw your car get mentioned. The Porsche 911 was right there.
I don't know, to be honest. I guess the damage model for the Porsche Cup car is really exciting. I'm sure we'll see a lot of that in the TAG Super Cup, but that and maybe also the actual the old Monte Carlo NASCARs, or that and the Thunderbird. I think those on a road course should be a whole lot of fun. Not necessarily exactly what they're intended for, but yeah, those two things I think should be really exciting. But the damage model will be it'll be the masterpiece of FESC, I think.
When it comes to kind of getting like feedback from sim racing, and I've asked a couple of racers about this, when it does things like the shaky cam there, or having it I guess driving over the road, do you feel like there's something still missing in terms of giving you that same feedback from your equipment to the actual reality of what that would feel like?
To be honest, it's tricky because obviously there's a lot of things that you can't get from the sim that you can from the real world. You don't have the seat of the pants feel. You don't have that sense of speed so much. So it's very, very tricky. But I think in terms of the hardware that we have, like for me, for example, here I'm using all the Virtual Racing School hardware. You're getting as much feeling as you can out of the sim. With the direct drive wheel and nice, good pedals. But in terms of like visual stuff from the sim, to be fair, I think a lot of us don't run everything on. Some of it can just be a little bit distracting. Things like lens flare and motion blur and stuff like that. It's something that we don't necessarily use. And you'd think that motion blur would give you that sense of speed and actually be useful. But no, I think, yeah, for the most part, the most important thing is the hardware that you have more than what the sim can kind of deliver you from a visual aspect.
And, when Tom was doing in his Newsflash and showing us some of the highlights of that 24-hour race, the code brown and that idea of maybe you wouldn't push that aggressively in a real race because maybe there's that sense of danger. Do you think that there's like a big separation between that versus what you guys are doing virtually, that you are seeing a bit more aggressive driving to really push towards the limit in these corners?
To be honest, yeah, I think that is an aspect, to be fair. Obviously, in the real world, you've got, like you said, the sense of danger. Also, a whole bunch of people yelling at you back in the garage when you get back there and burning a hole in your back pocket. But no, I think that's probably a reason, at least for me, why sim racing is so exciting, because everyone's going out there and pushing the limit all the time. There's never really a dull moment. But I think, at least for us, like going into that race, we were kind of treating it very, very similar to how you would the real thing. Taking it slow in the beginning, just making it through till the end, and then you can start to really push when you need to. I think, as you saw, I mean, it made for exciting racing, but a lot of people didn't necessarily go that way, and things came unstuck. So I think, at least in sim racing, it definitely does have that advantage of being able to push a little bit harder without having so much risk. But depending on the race, sometimes it's not necessarily the best way to go about things. Like in the TAG Super Cup, you're always going to go out there and push 10 tenths every time. The races are around 15 and 30 minutes long, so you're always risking everything. And it's probably very similar to how they would treat that in that real series as well. But yeah, it definitely varies.
No, I really like that that view from you. This idea that there is value to sim racing or virtual racing because you can try to push the limits, and recognizing that in itself makes it really exciting, as well as appreciating the actual technique that you guys are still using on the course. Now, I'm going to give our producers some time to load up a clip, because I believe we also have the clip of Lapierre, if I say that correctly, getting pushed about 20 meters into fuel pit. But while we load up that clip to have you look at it, I'm curious, did you know that this was happening on the course at the time, or did you find out afterwards?
I definitely found it afterwards. It's definitely an interesting piece of camaraderie and something really cool to see, to be honest. But yeah, I think depending on the situation, I'm not sure whether I'd do the same thing. But yeah, no, fantastic to see. And especially in a race like that, you know, everyone puts in so much effort, and just to give up a few seconds here and there to do that was really nice.
Yeah, and I think it's also that idea of it shows the difference again. If we're talking about some of the differences of that fear of danger, also a situation like that where is that even possible in a real race to get behind someone and try to push them with the car, or would you just like total it?
Yeah, no one would ever do that in the real world, but they'd probably just get out of the car and push it themselves, which is something we definitely can't do in the sim. Always need that helping hand. So yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, obviously another very big difference. You see that all the time in sim racing, to be honest, in races with friends, where you're always pushing one another or yeah, taking unnecessary risks or doing things like that. But yeah, there's I guess that is one of the larger differences, but again, it's good to see the camaraderie between those guys.
We're going to call it perks. Okay, now this part of the show, Joshua, is called our social showroom. Basically, what's going to happen is you're going to see, and our viewers are going to see, some of the tweets that people have sent into us. Reminder, you can tweet at us at NitroNights using the hashtag NitroNights if you'd like to join us. There is a certain theme that goes along with this, so you'll probably be able to pick out what the theme was for a lot of these tweets. Let's see what we can get up on the screen. Here we go. Oh, no, the first one is actually just our giveaway. Do you need an MSI GeForce RTX 2080 Super Gaming graphics card, Joshua?
I wouldn't say no.
I was checking the price tag on these. I was like, that's like my apartment. Those things are so expensive.
Especially in this time.
I know, right? And they burn out. Berlin summer, man. Okay. What do we got next? Oh, eating yogurt. Do you watch a lot of these clips? Because there's some ridiculous clips that come out of the racing world.
I'll be honest, I do. I haven't seen this one, though. This is a little bit different. Usually, most of the time, we're just on our phones rather than doing that. But I guess when it's really early in the morning and you need breakfast, you got to do what you got to do.
Do you think it's just like a power move, though? Like full alpha to... Like, he must have had the yogurt there, and he must have been thinking about how it was going to look. Like, it's fine. I'll just put some granola in here.
Yeah, of course. I mean, either that or it was brought to him, I guess. That's like the luxury. But yeah, no, Eve. I think for them, to be honest, like that's entertainment. So that's what they're gonna do. I think Lando did this similar thing, making car noises or something. So it's just something that they're doing.
I'm saying.
But it makes everything so much more fun. So
the racing world, or the hardcore racing, real racing fans seem to have a big problem. But the fact is we're pushing cars 20 meters into their fuel stop. We're flipping cars upside down. We're eating yogurt. Like, I don't know. We've got it all. All right. Next tweet. What we got, producers? Oh, here we go. 2 server crashes in 24 hours, 175 rigs logging in from 37 countries on 5 different continents, and then we had 23 hours of green flag racing. So obviously just a huge celebration of what we were able to accomplish. Yeah,
for sure. I think going into the race too, I think we expected a lot more issues than what they were. So yeah, they definitely did their job well, and they gave us the best race that they could, which was really at the end of the day the most important thing. I mean, it was the biggest sim race I think there's ever been, and yeah, to be able to keep it all together like that was it was a relief, that's for sure.
And we've got one more tweet. Let's see what it is. Okay, had to drive 2 laps with the car turning right when he was steering left. So more glitches, it seems, or some technical difficulties, but finding creative ways around it, or training for it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in plenty of situations like that where you, I mean, it was either that or maybe you had a crash or something, but yeah, when you're trying to manage the car when it's basically falling to pieces, it makes things quite unpredictable and challenging at times.
What's like the most difficult car that you've had to drive or like find the limit for? Is there one that's just like notoriously known to be kind of squirrely?
Probably the V8 supercar, to be honest. Especially depending on what track you're at. Like if you're at Bathurst, handling 650, 700 horsepower when you don't have much downforce, the tires are quite small. The grip is practically non-existent. You could think of it as a boat with wheels, and it's probably one of the most challenging cars on iRacing, or even out there, to be honest. I think there's so many real racing drivers even that come from other series to drive supercars, and they're just blown away by how challenging they are. I mean, it's exhilarating, but I think whenever you can get a challenge, you take it. And that car for me, I mean, I've done a lot of racing with that in the past over the years, but it's most certainly the hardest car to drive for sure.
I love a man who's like a boat with wheels. When you're going that fast, you see a challenge and you take it. Thank you so much, Joshua. I really enjoyed having you, but for now, we're actually going to have to say goodbye. Do you have any other shout outs?
I guess thanks obviously for having me on the show, and everyone Coanda Simsport, Porsche Esports team for everything they put in over the past month to get the result that we did over the weekend. It was fantastic. I mean, the champagne shower at the end was a little bit of a regret right at the end, but no, you can never regret those things. And obviously, like I said, massive thanks for having me on, and look forward to the next one.
Thank you so much, Josh. I cannot wait to get you into the studio at NitroNights. But while we are saying goodbye to Josh, we're not saying goodbye to me, because we've got something very special to celebrate. Due to the launch of Overtake.gg, we are hosting Clash of Racers, and it works like this. Forza Motorsport 7. You complete our challenges. You send us in the screenshot, and the 2 fastest racers will join the likes of Kevin and Max. Now, if you didn't get all of that, be sure to go over to overtake.gg. It'll fill you in on all the specifics. The deadline, however, is this Thursday. So you got to be fast on the track, and you got to be fast right now. If you missed that, you can join us on stream June 21st, 6 p.m. CET over at twitch.tv/overtake_GG. And I hope to see you there. Now, that is finally all for us on another episode of NitroNights. Be sure to join us every single Wednesday, and until then, I'll see you next time.